Hey, Catalyst crew. Welcome to Catalyst Corner, episode 56. It's Thursday, so we've got Jim F0123 Art on with us, and yeah, let's get into it. How you doing, Jim?
I am doing well. I'm sweating my ass off. It's like 100 degrees outside today.
Yeah, you could fry an egg.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's altogether too hot.
Yeah.
I would say. You know what? I like a 70 degree. If I can keep it like around 70, I'm a happy guy.
Sure. Yeah, and it was like that a couple days ago, and then it spikes up to close to 100, and then it's going to drop down to 50 in a couple days. So, yeah, welcome to this New England weather.
Yeah, this is the new age.
Yeah.
So we've been moving some product.
Yes, absolutely.
Sent one out to Coachella the other day.
Really?
Today it went out. Yeah,
really? Nice.
Sent one out to Coachella.
Nice.
A capybara to Coachella. So if you're listening over in California, enjoy that. It's fun. It's still every now and then I'll get an order. Like I got I sent a potato to Alaska the other day.
Nice.
Every now and then you get an order somewhere, and it's like, it's fun to kind of get those orders that are different. Some to Hawaii, some to Alaska. Like
exactly, yeah.
Those are always fun.
Always.
Have you watched anything?
I have.
Get right into it.
I'm going to get right into it.
I love it.
So I watched this movie called I See You.
Well, I see you too.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
You ever heard of this one?
I've passed it a few times.
It's on Netflix.
I haven't watched it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, first of all, nice and tight, hour and a half.
I like that.
Right. So, right off. So,
is it a horror or a thriller?
It's more of a thriller.
Yeah, okay.
Had no idea what this was about. It's just one of those random selections.
Yeah, it had like a decent poster though, right?
Yeah. And Helen Hunt is one of the stars of it, but there's really no other name.
She hasn't done shit. Right?
No,
she's kind of been dark.
The thing is, I thought she was like pushing 70. She's pushing 60, so she looks like she's pushing 70. Not sure why, but
maybe she's just not playing the game. Maybe she's just aging normally.
I think she is. I think she is, but. This movie, this one kind of threw me, right?
Yeah.
Because I was, again, no expectations of what it was even about. So you come to find out, the thing is, people are abducting children, okay? Oof. So it's about child...
Yeah, it's heavy.
Abduction and.
What are they doing, like a sex ring or something?
Only, you don't really know. But
right,
you
know just know they're taking them.
Right, they're taking kids for sexual purposes.
Sure.
Some are getting, back out. Most of them getting murdered, right?
Yeah.
But they don't know. This has been going on for a long time now, and no one has been able to catch who is doing it, right?
Yeah.
So you meet the lead detective, and his family, so Helen Hunt's the wife.
Yeah.
They've got a son.
Sure.
Okay, and he's trying to figure out
the
who
son's
is
young too, I assume.
He's of teenage.
Okay.
So
how old are the kids that are getting abducted? Are they like
young kids?
All right, so they're like younger kids. Okay.
Preteen, early teen, things like that.
All right.
So Helen Hunt, the wife, had an affair, right? So there's hostility in the household.
Yeah, there's that kind of seething sort of, like they're civil, but it's almost like a powder keg sort of thing.
So she's sorry. She wants to keep the marriage. He's really kind of checked out on it.
He's done, but there's kids and
and the kid is pissed. He's pissed at the mom for doing that.
Sure, you just blew up my world.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
I get it.
So this is the dynamic, right? So.
Right, she's the quote-unquote bad guy.
Yeah, so you can feel the hostility between all of them of what's going on. And in the meantime, he's trying to find out.
Right, he's immersed in this dark case.
Right. So things start happening in the house, some weird things, right? Some items that are being misplaced, some just overall weird goings on, right? So at one point, the father breaks a window, right? And he calls for a repair. And the wife comes home, and there's a repairman in the house, and she wasn't expecting it. She's like, how did you get in? He's like, oh, your husband hired me, and your daughter let me in. And she's like, don't
I don't have a daughter. Right.
So kind of what's going on here. And you can see all these things going on, right? And you're thinking, maybe it's supernatural, right? There's like weird.
That's how they kind of frame it. It's like a ghost.
Like you really don't know, but you can see things happening in the house. And then when they question each other, they're like, hey, did you just turn on the record player? And like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so something's going on. So the guy that she cheated with comes over, right? So she's about to take the kid to school, and the guy she cheats with comes over, and she's like, they're in the driveway.
He just shows up.
He just shows up.
Okay.
And she's like, hey, we can't do this anymore.
Right, get out of here.
Right. So all of a sudden, he gets hit in the head with a coffee mug.
Sure.
And she thinks, oh, my son must have done this, right?
Yeah.
So she asks him, he's like, no, I didn't. I wasn't up there. I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, so the guy's bleeding profusely. She's like, hey, just, the son doesn't know he's there, but he's like, hey, she's like, go in the basement, takes him down to the basement, stay here. When I got to take my son to school. When I get back, I'll take you to the hospital. But, we got to end this thing. So he's sitting down there in the basement, and all of a sudden he gets struck in the head and killed.
Sure.
Right? And so it's like, okay.
And we still don't really know what's going on at this point.
So then all of a sudden they cut to this new scene where there's a teenage girl and a teenage boy, and they go into the house, right? So they sneak in, and she does they do one of these things where they like live in the house.
They're squatting.
Right, but they stay for a couple days.
Right, maybe they steal some food and shit.
Right, exactly, and then they move on before they get caught. So now, so now you kind of see that they're in the house, and so she does this. The girl does it kind of all the time, and she brought this other kid with her, and the kid starts to want to fuck around with the family. Right.
Okay, so he's escalating kind of what they're doing.
Right.
Okay.
So all of a sudden, this is where like I'm thinking like, what's going on now? Right. Like all of a sudden we've cut to this.
It's kind of like, and the thing is it rates high.
Yeah.
But from the way you've described it so far, it almost feels like almost schizophrenic in its kind of tone.
Yeah.
Is it ghosts? Is it the child abduction people, or is it squatting teenagers?
Right. So you have no idea what's going on, but all of a sudden, like I'm like, oh, we're off track here now. Like whatever happened to the story of we're looking for these kids that are being abducted.
Right.
So you all of a sudden see that the kid is the one who's been fucking around with the family, right? So all the things that have been going on, now you find out,
all that kind of shit.
You find out that he's doing it because he's screwing with the family, right?
Okay.
And and the girl that he's with is getting pissed off. It's like, hey,
right, I'm just trying to like sneak around, live in these houses, and then go about my day.
Right.
And like if you fuck around with them, you're going to get a spot.
And she's recording everything because this is what she does, right? She takes a recording. So they're going to get out of there.
Yeah.
And she goes downstairs to the basement, and she witnesses the guy getting
hit,
right? So you think it's the kid, right?
Right.
It's the dad.
The cop?
The cop.
So the cop is the guy.
The cop is the guy.
Wow.
So all of a sudden you find out that the cop, the father,
is the one that's abducting the kids. Holy cow.
You find out he's the guy that's doing it.
Yeah. And
so,
he's running the case.
Right.
Wow.
So it ends up, right, so he ends up killing the girl because he's going to say, hey, you killed
Yeah, he wants to pin it on the kid.
Because I've got your video camera now. I got your video camera. It shows you breaking in.
Yeah.
I'm going to pin the murder on you. And all of a sudden the kid stops it, and he ends up shooting the
husband or whatever?
The husband.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I'm a cop. You broke in here. Who are they going to believe? So you find out. So it ends. The kid was one of the kids that got away, and he knew who this was.
Oh.
And so they broke in there intentionally so he can fucking get his revenge on the dad finally.
Good twist.
I never saw any of this coming.
What's interesting, but it was solid.
It was solid. But there was so many. Just when you think it was going to start getting boring and ridiculous, these twists start happening, and it ends. This is a movie that and again, all in an hour and a half.
Well, right. That's what's impressive. Do you know what it? Did you see you saw The Empty Man, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you like it?
I did.
So did I, but I did think it was a little bit too long.
Yeah, it was a little bit long.
And there were too many subplots.
Mm-hmm.
And from what you're telling me, it sounds like to be able to do that many different things and then bring it together in an hour and a half is the mark of incredible directing, incredible writing, and the editor.
Yeah.
Like those three people to be able to, and again, it rates like 4.2.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely recommend this movie. This movie was a really nice surprise to stumble upon.
What's interesting is that I'll have to see what Helen Hunt has made like in the last 10 years, because if she's just picking roles that she wants to do, I mean, they're probably all like pretty good.
Yeah, I gotta say this one was this was a good choice.
So good thriller.
Yes.
Not a supernatural, a thriller, true thriller.
Yep.
It's interesting because this horror now, I would call it still a horror though, right?
Sure.
There's, like,
I mean,
elements.
it's still under the category of horror.
It almost has like Black Phone vibes.
Yeah, it
right?
does. It does,
like a little
for sure.
bit. I mean, I'll be honest with you, because I know that was one of your big ones of 2021.
Yes.
Or 22, I mean, excuse me. I liked it, but I thought the supernatural element was unnecessary.
Sure.
Like I mean, you know, Ethan Hawke's character was creepy enough.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I can see that. But
that's kind of the same sort of vibe, right?
Yeah, this had the vibe of it, but then it, wasn't any of that.
No, went in another direction entirely.
So,
it's cool though. I dig things that have twists that you don't even see coming.
Right. And this one had two, which was nice. What about you? What did you catch?
Yeah, so I watched one as well. So I caught one called The Watcher.
Okay, not familiar.
I watched The Watcher.
You watched The Watcher.
As you do.
Yeah.
So what's interesting about kind of the films that I've been watching recently is I've been very drawn to like the European aesthetic.
Sure.
Right? So films that take place in Europe. And I watched that Polish film Hellhole.
Right.
Remember that?
Yep.
And then I watched that one recently with Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yep.
So again, like and the reason I like it is because it's the architecture, it's the setting.
It's a different aesthetic.
You can't replicate that in a studio.
No. No, you can't. And there's not places in America that have that same vibe.
No. And don't get me wrong, America has its own vibe.
Sure.
But there's just something about. So this was filmed in Romania.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a little bit of a fan base.
We do.
There, so.
We do.
So this was filmed in Romania. Mostly, at least to me, unknown actors.
Okay.
Except for one, Bern Gorman, who was in Pacific Rim.
Sure.
He was one of the doctors with Charlie Day. And the gist of the film was an American and a Romanian-American man, and the woman is American, get married.
Okay.
And he ends up getting a job in Romania. And so he convinces her to go, and they move into this apartment. And she can't speak the language. And there are scenes where they're speaking Romanian, and they don't do subtitles. Like, you're supposed to get on, she's your POV character.
Okay, yeah.
Because my partner was complaining that there weren't subtitles. And I said, right, but...
Yeah, you're supposed to feel that uneasiness of not knowing what they're
isolation.
saying. And you're right.
What it is it's isolation in public, right? Is there are people around you, but you're by yourself.
Right.
So, and they do the actress does a great job kind of conveying that, and the film does a great job of making you feel it.
Nice.
And basically what the movie is about, there's a serial killer running around that the press has called the Spider.
Okay.
Right? And it's always a guy. He's killing people, right? Pretty grotesquely. He's cutting their heads off and all sorts of wild shit. So they're in this apartment, relatively nice joint. She's totally isolated because he's working and she can't talk to anybody. And so she looks out her window. And they're in it's Romania. There's an apartment building across the street. They're all kind of, they're not run down, but they're old apartments, right? That have been done up. So like the interiors are nice, but there's still that like. Have you ever lived in like a 1900s house or been in it's like that kind of thing? And so she looks at the apartment complex across the street. And she sees a guy in the window. And so that kind of becomes her thing. She's like, is this fucking guy watching me or what? And so this goes on for a bit. And then she finally waves, right? She finally has the courage to wave. She had a few drinks, so she waves. And at first the guy doesn't wave. And she's like, it's all in my head. And then he waves.
Oh, okay.
So she starts going down this paranoia train, right? It's like, who is this guy?
Right.
And without giving away the ending, right? There's a scene that it was just, the ending fizzled a little for me because I wanted it to end like, they made it seem like it was going to end dark.
Yeah.
And then they kind of backpedaled on it a little bit.
Okay.
But if it ended dark, I think it would have been phenomenal. It was great. It was really, really good.
Nice.
Basically nobody believes her, right? And just the sense of isolation you feel for this character. It doesn't rate out super high. I think it's 3.6 out of 5, something like that. But
sounds interesting.
Yeah,
though.
it was really, really good. I mean, again, for me, I get sucked into those aesthetics. That old world Europe aesthetic in a modern setting really does something for me.
Sure, absolutely.
It really sets a vibe.
Yeah, it does.
So, I mean, if I watched it on Hulu. So if you have a Hulu script, it's on there. Definitely worth checking out.
Yeah,
and I got to tell you, Bern Gorman. I've only seen him in this and Pacific Rim, right?
Yeah.
And in Pacific Rim, it was kind of he was a little more comedic.
Sure.
Right? Like, dude can act.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Guy can like really, really act. I thought he did a great job. But yeah, no, give it a check out.
Yeah, definitely.
Psychological thriller.
Yeah, nice.
Normally I do a horror too. Like I like to get a horror in.
Yeah.
But we're a little dry right now.
Okay.
Summer's coming, so I think you get more horror at the beginning and the end of the year.
Yeah, for sure. Come October,
we'll get some more. Yeah,
for sure.
I did read before we move on that Robert Eggers' Nosferatu wrapped.
Oh, nice.
Filming.
Nice.
And they said that the way it was shot, the color scheme that he's using, it's in color.
Okay.
But it's like 1920s, 30s kind of color vibe.
Nice.
So I guess it's going to have a very stylistic look.
That's
and
going to be awesome.
You have Willem Dafoe and Bill
that's going to be so good.
I mean, it's just... I'm very excited.
Yeah,
and
me
it's
too.
probably not coming out till next year, but I'm very excited.
Yeah, very exciting.
It'll be interesting to see if Lily Rose Depp can.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see.
See if she can actually act.
Exactly.
But no, that I read that the other day and I got pretty excited.
Nice.
All right, let's move away from the films for now. Or actually, you know what? Let's shift it. We'll stay on films for a minute.
Sure.
So, Little Mermaid is out now.
It is.
We'll start there.
Okay.
And I've heard kind of. So I heard Halle Berry is fine.
Right.
You know, she does good with the singing.
Right.
I even heard Melissa McCarthy was fine.
Yeah.
All of them were.
I hear that. Yeah, I hear everybody is fine.
Everything, all of that is fine. I heard that the changes that they made for the songs are unnecessary and to a point they have to actually explain shit
Right.
in the movie
Right.
to change one line of a song.
Right. Yeah.
That to me is fucking ridiculous.
Right. Well, you have an extra hour's worth of material.
Right.
Which is,
Insane.
crazy in and of itself.
So what I wanted to talk about with this is not so much the film.
Okay.
It's getting the typical, like, Disney over the last couple of years has gotten D ratings.
Right.
It averages in the D grade.
Yeah.
And this is no different.
Right.
And I think it's more so because the audience it's a tired formula. Like it was kind of the gimmick was kind of exciting when Beauty and the Beast came out
Right.
and all that stuff.
Sure.
But they've seen it. They're tired of it. What is interesting to me is that all of the review sites, except for Metacritic, have been doctoring the reviews.
They've been on lockdown.
So they're not allowing negative reviews of the film. So basically, the film on Metacritic right now is sitting at a 59 for a critic score and a 2.1 for an audience score. Now, it's probably a 59. It's probably a 5.9.
Yeah.
But again, audience gets passionate and they give it zeros. So, but what Disney is this is the problem I have with it all. You're making these review sites change the game.
Right.
Instead of making good content. You tried to blame the audience.
Right.
Then you tried to call racism.
Of course.
Then when none of that worked because audience is on board with Halle Berry. Then when that didn't work, you're doctoring the reviews at this point.
Right. And you can go in and you can undoctor the reviews and see the actual reviews. I mean, the actual scores.
Sure, you can.
You can't get you're not going to get, the negative comments and things like that, but you can see the actual what they're rating out at, and this is rating out as a D movie.
Right. Like all the other ones have been.
Right. Exactly.
And what's troublesome to me is that, I listened to a film critic. I don't want to say his name or whatever because I don't want to dox him. But he was talking about the business, and he flat out said, he's like, yeah, if you're in this business, you have to kind of play ball.
Sure, absolutely,
because
you do.
If you're honest, they just won't give you a copy, and then you're left out, and then someone who will lie will get the copy.
Right.
So that troubles me.
Sure.
Because a corporation like Disney that has all this money should be reinvesting that into the creative departments. And instead what they're doing is they're investing it into these slimy people who are making basically all of their sort of morals and everything, throwing them out the window just to keep Disney above a D score.
Right.
And that's gonna bleed into other companies. Like as soon as these other big boys see that you can do this, we're gonna get doctored reviews.
Yeah. And the thing is, the reviews are so pathetic too, because again, you're not fooling anybody by what you're doing. Like you're saying, well, you're the number one movie, right? But you're the number one movie only domestically, because internationally, this thing has absolutely tanked.
Yeah,
one of the worst international movies ever.
I think the opening weekend was like 60 million. Internationally was 60 million.
So you're touting, the number one. Well, you didn't go up against anything.
Well, they went up against what? Fast.
Well, but that
10?
was out. But that was out a week. You know what I mean?
That was already out.
Yeah, that was already out,
all right.
and it's killing it in
international.
Right, and then today you got the new Into the Spider-Verse 2
Which,
comes out.
I got to be honest with you, I heard it's fucking great.
Right. So again, your reign as number one is over.
Well, the thing
is going to be over in a week.
Here's the thing, is that Little Mermaid, right? Like it's not for your traditional male audience.
No.
Right? It's just not.
No,
like,
it isn't.
Like I would consider myself a traditional male audience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not. I have no desire to go see that.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you've eliminated a huge chunk of your potential revenue stream.
Right.
Fast X has a huge. First of all, it's $1 billion movie every time one drops.
Right.
And you know, you're on the 10th one. People love this shit. It's not for me. I think it's goofy as fuck.
Yeah, I don't like them myself.
But I understand. It's just a
yeah, but I can understand the appeal to some people.
A stupid popcorn flick. You've been with these characters for sometimes 15, 20 years. You can shut your brain off.
Right.
And it's killing internationally because they love the cars. They love the action. That's what they want.
Right.
Spider-Verse is animated, right? So it trends a little more towards the kids, but again, you're not excluding your male audience there.
Right.
Right?
You're yeah, this is a movie. See, this is different than say Super Mario Brothers, right? Only
you're
because
not excluding the male audience with Super Mario Bros.
No, but even with that, right? I mean, you might have the same audience, you might not. Spider-Man, you know, I think has somewhat of a far-reaching appeal, even though Mario has a great reach too. Although I think Mario is going to do financially better than this movie. But
Mario is the #1 video game movie of all time.
Right. But my point is that there is going to be a massive amount of different people that will find this Into the Spider-Verse movie for them.
Especially with the kind of style, right?
Right.
Because there's a Spider-Man for everybody.
Exactly.
What I think is interesting is that, you know, it would be more interesting if it was a Marvel film.
Right.
You know, to see kind of how it would hang in this particular slot. Because I don't think it's fair to say, you know, oh, well, The Little Mermaid, because it's just such a polarizing film. It's
right.
It's for a very specific audience, right?
Yes.
So what I think is very interesting is I don't know why they would drop it, you know, now. This was a bad week to drop it.
Well, because they knew they had the Memorial Day weekend to themselves.
Right. So like maybe they just wanted to try to.
They thought they were going to do tremendous money.
Well, they've been hyping it up for like over a year, and they forced everyone to watch it at the Oscars.
Right. But you had the Thursday preview to Monday holiday, right? So they thought there's really no competition.
Yeah, but how much did they think it was really going to make?
Oh, they thought it was going to make
like $200 million?
It at minimum. At minimum.
It didn't even come close.
No, it didn't. It made what, 160 million, I think, total. Something
like that.
Right? I mean, below what they thought.
Dude, it's a 2-hour movie.
Right.
Right? Like the thing is that if I'm a parent, I don't want to sit for 2 hours watching The Little fucking Mermaid.
No, and the thing too is that again, I don't know if some kids have seen the animated original, and they're going to go and they're going to be like, this isn't the movie that I'm thinking of.
I just think to me, you're on the wrong side when you say, yeah, we had to take some time out of the movie to explain a change in the lyrics.
Right.
Like when you're doing something like that where it's so out of the way that you actually have to commit screen time to explain it.
Right.
You have a problem. It's like in that Transformers movie where he was banging the underage girl, and then they took time out of the movie to be like, well, the Romeo and Juliet law.
Right.
You're on the wrong side of it.
Right. Exactly.
And I think this is the case with Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
And it's just going to continue. This D trend is just going to continue.
It will, because again, it's all about checking boxes. It's all about, them pushing the agenda that they want. Look, again.
Now, did you hear about Spider-Woman?
Yes.
It almost makes me speechless.
Right. Yeah, it's a ridiculous change that
She's like 5 months pregnant.
right. But like what kid
Not even that.
is going to care about
Not
that?
even that. It's irresponsible.
Right.
Like you're a pregnant mother and you're going to be flipping around fighting fucking bad guys?
Sure. I mean, there's that
You
too.
have a baby inside
Right.
of you.
But it's just it's things like that though that who's that appealing to?
It appeals to the paper because on paper
right.
it looks good.
Right, because you've checked a box and it looks good when you want to go and tell everybody about your diversity and inclusion,
Right.
and you want to push the agenda, you're going to show as many boxes checked as you possibly can.
Right.
But then when this stuff gets hammered
Well, when you
in
put
the,
it
in
into
the
practice,
reviews,
though, you have a pregnant woman doing incredibly dangerous things with being pregnant.
right. Yeah, it's
So
just
she just comes across as irresponsible.
right. And again, it's in you take that element and you take the element that that isn't going to appeal to anybody, that there is no audience for that. People are just going to groan, and when they even if they give you good reviews, I guarantee there's going to be a lot of negativity and say, well, what was the purpose of that? That's stupid.
What I think is interesting about it all, right, is that if you look at these last like 3 to 5 years in cinema, because that's when this really started, right? Like the last 3 to 5 years is when we've really gotten kind of these bad films, and instead of the studios owning them, they start blaming and trying to move things around. But at the end of the day, it's still a bad film.
Right.
Even if we all agree, we're like, all right, yeah, our bad, like Rings of Power is fine. It's not, though.
No, it's not.
And it shows because Willow has been taken off Disney Plus.
Right. And even if this is something that people look at and say, hey, that's a great movie, that's just dumb. Like, what was the need to include that? It didn't add anything.
Right.
That's what you're going to get. But this movie will, I still think, do tremendously well. Because it's going to be, I believe it'll probably be a good movie overall, similar to the first one.
I think what Little Mermaid's issue is that it's a tired formula,
right?
And the extra stuff. I also heard that the new songs that they've included.
Yeah, especially that rap. Did you hear that rap?
No,
Dude, it is
heard,
cringe embarrassment.
Is that because it's by Lin-Manuel Miranda?
Well, he wrote it, and then
Right.
Awkwafina is the one who's doing it.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that's
yeah.
So his style doesn't fit with the
Not at all.
Right. And so that's the point of it, is like you can't, when you plug something in, right, that's a totally different style. It's not going to work.
No, and it clearly does not work.
Right. And it just seems like you Frankensteined it together.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is the thing about it all is you're being told this stuff well in advance, that this is going to flop, this is not going to do well, these are the problems.
But
and
the
then
thing
it comes out,
is
and that is exactly what occurs.
I don't understand.
And you don't learn.
What I don't understand is that there's this, that you're still pushing.
Right.
Like it's failed. It was a failed experiment.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Exactly. Yeah, it worked. It worked at the beginning when these things were pulling in $1 billion because it was relatively new.
It was a different world.
Right, it was a different world, but that was new. And now, but then all of a sudden it became, these are just cash grabs. Everybody caught on. They're soulless. They're cash grabs. Then all of a sudden it became, oh, now you're just pushing an agenda. Now I can see exactly what you're doing. And on top of that, you're making massive changes to the story that no one wants and no one likes. And the only thing that you can say when people give you their exact reasonings, you're a racist. That's all. You're a racist.
Right, but that's what they did with Willow, right?
That's what they do to everything.
Like, we lambasted Willow. I tried.
Sure.
Because I like Willow. I really dig it. And I tried to give it a fair chance. And it was so bad.
Right.
And then they come out and they're just like, well, you're just either misogynistic or homophobic. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not what ruins it for me.
Right.
What ruins it are the characters. And then, for Disney to do all of that, right? To push all of the actors and the critics and everything to say all of that shit, and then ultimately pull it off their streaming service 6 months after it finished airing, I'm insulted by that. Like, people that we kind of talk to and stuff were like rejoicing that it got pulled off. I'm insulted because you took a shit on the table. And when we said, don't take a shit on the table, you said, shut the fuck up, I'm taking a shit on the table. And now you're trying to sweep that shit off.
Right.
No, you fucking leave that turd on the table.
And then but when you tell them, if you take a shit on the table, bad things are going to happen, you probably should think against doing that.
Stop shitting on the table.
Right. Nope, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. And then
but it keeps failing.
Right, it keeps failing time and time again, and they're just not learning. They're more concerned about the agenda and the message, and they're not doing anything to entertain. And look, people want to watch this stuff, and we've said this the last episode. We don't want this stuff to fail. We want to watch this stuff. We want this stuff to exist.
I don't like. What's a good example? I think for us, because we came down pretty hard on Elizabeth Holmes for Charlie's Angels, right? And I said to you,
Banks.
or I'm sorry, Elizabeth Holmes just went to jail.
Right.
Elizabeth Banks on Charlie's Angels. And because she came out and she was like, oh, it's just because I'm a woman director, blah, blah, blah. But then I watched Cocaine Bear, and as did you.
Right.
And it was good.
Yeah.
For what it was.
For what it was, right.
And now I'm back on Team Banks.
Yeah,
because it's just like, I don't want you to fail.
Right, but don't say you don't like it because you're a man or this isn't made for men. Stop saying that shit. Just put out your movie and let us enjoy it or not enjoy it.
Right.
But don't insult us before the movie comes out. And then if we don't like it, don't insult us further as to we're idiots. You don't know what you're talking about. We do know what we're talking about.
That's just extremism.
Right.
It's extremism, like it's more of a left-leaning extremism than say a right-leaning extremism, right? But again, when you lean into anything, any form of extremism is shitty.
Right.
And I just am very, very disappointed because I, like you, use these as a form of escapism.
Right.
Use them as a form of creative sort of, fodder. I'll see something and it'll get my creative juices flowing. And over the last couple of years, that's gone.
Right. And the thing is, a lot of these characters we grew up with, we don't want them taken away from us. I want to die with these characters and remember them for what they are and what they've meant to me my entire life. I don't want them to be destroyed, as I'm witnessing the destruction of all this stuff. I don't want that. I want them to be successful.
Now, before we move off of Disney, you heard about our boy, the adventurer.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's dead.
So again, this is another thing. When it screened at Cannes, before the movie started, Harrison Ford was given a 5-minute standing ovation.
Right, and he was presented an award.
Right. But the way that the articles were written made it seem like that happened as a result of the film being screened.
Right.
And then people gave it a 5-minute stand. No,
they gave it a very lukewarm golf clap at the end.
Not even.
Yeah, that's about it.
All I hear is it's terrible.
It's terrible. And it is exactly what we were told.
Yeah.
She's the star.
Yep.
She saves his ass on numerous occasions
because it's boring.
Yeah, and
that's
people
what they said.
Yeah,
they said the parts that she's in are boring.
They said that she's got zero personality. She comes off as a piece of shit. everybody says in everything that she's ever been in. She's just unlikable. She's an unlikable character.
Yeah, she's got the James Corden syndrome.
Right.
Like, you're just unlikable.
Right. You're just unlikable in everything that you do, and you make everything worse by your presence.
I can't believe if they don't. Here's the thing: if they don't either sell Lucasfilms or fire Kathleen Kennedy after this, what is the plan?
You know what? Here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
If this comes out and bombs,
the reviews are out.
Right. No, but I'm saying once it's officially out, and if it bombs and they don't fire Kathleen Kennedy, I want it to go even worse. I want her to scorch earth.
You just want the dumpster fire.
Right. No, because you're never going to, because again, we know it's never going to be good. I want it to be bad. Like, if I'm not going to get, if you're not going to get rid of her or sell it, then I want this stuff torched.
Like, out of curiosity,
that goes against what I just said, but.
Well, I think it's just washing your hands of it, right? So, what I don't understand is what is the plan behind all of this stuff? And this includes like the Bud Light thing. Mm-hmm. Like, is your plan just to isolate the original audience, the original fan base, have them leave, and then and you think there's just going to be a different and new and modern fan base that comes in?
Yes, that's what Kathleen Kennedy thought. But she absolutely thought that.
That doesn't happen anywhere.
No, but
you don't get to take something that's already established,
right?
Scorch it, and then think that people because the whole reason people show up is because they know it,
right? But see, here's the thing, right? Take the Bud Light thing, right?
Yeah.
You're number one in sales, right? You were the number one beer, right?
Right.
So the marketing genius, that whatever her name was, the
VP,
hey, let's isolate the 99% and cater to the 1%, right? Because let's play to the 1% and let's screw over the 99%. That makes sense, right? Sure. And so that's what you did. Except the 1% said. Half of the 1% said, no, I'm not interested in that. So you went down to a 0.5%.
Right, and then the other half was like, well, we don't feel like you supported Dylan enough, and then they didn't back him.
And then they said, screw you.
It is a case study in disaster.
Right.
And the reason I bring it up, I know we've kind of beaten it to death a little bit, is just because it's almost like these execs all have the same mentality.
They do.
Like, you think you can take a property that's beloved, and it's happening with The Witcher. Mm-hmm. Did you see the news on that?
I have.
Renewed to season 5.
Well, no, but see, did you actually hear the whole thing on that?
Well, so all I heard after I heard it was renewed, I heard that it's a marketing ploy.
So what actually is the case is we're filming 4 and 5 together. So you didn't get renewed for 5. You're doing it now before it gets canceled.
Right, just so you have a 5th season.
Right. So you didn't get renewed for 5 at all.
My guess is that 5 will be the end.
I think that 3 might be the end.
Well, if they're filming it
now.
No,
they aren't filming. They haven't started filming yet.
Yeah, because Netflix wants to see.
Right.
Because this is how the conversation went. Cavill left.
Mm-hmm.
You thought that the audience was going to stay, and they didn't.
Right.
And Blood Origin shows that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we do love a Witcher world.
Right.
We just don't love your Witcher world.
Right.
Because it's not the world that we love.
Right.
And so we went with Cavill.
Mm-hmm.
So what Netflix is saying is like, look, if he can hold it up for season 3 and you can get the views, we'll give you a season 4. And you want to tack on a season 5 just to give it an ending, but the road is, we've reached the end of the road with this.
Exactly.
And they were banking on this being an IP. Mm-hmm. They were banking on it. It was going to be a Witcherverse.
On seven movies at minimum.
Seasons. They had an anime that came out that was decent. The anime was all right.
Yeah.
And they were planning on more. They were going to do Blood Origins.
Spin-offs.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, you tanked this because you had your star. He was passionate. And you didn't want to give an inch. You wanted to follow the executive plan that every other studio is doing.
Right.
That is failing because you can't bring, like, new audiences aren't showing up.
No. You're not going to get new audiences, and you're not going to get the Twitter audience that's screaming about the agenda, because that's a very small number of people.
Right, but here's where it all kind of comes to fruition, is that the disconnect is they're so driven by numbers, right?
Yeah.
That that they're so brainwashed by all these algorithms that on paper it looks like it's going to make money.
Sure.
They all do. They all look like they're going to be a smashing success because the people that post on these platforms are who they're marketing it towards.
Right.
And that's how they gauge everything, is what's the social trend of it? Are people talking about it?
Right.
They sure are, but they're not going to see it because the people who don't talk about it, like you and I, you've isolated us.
Right.
But we were going, and we were pushing it in our circles. But now we're not.
Right. Exactly. They're catering more to what is being said on social media.
But the thing
than
is,
the actual audiences.
Here's and then we can move on. But if I'm so tired of rich people and executives being like, well, we work harder, we're smarter. You're not.
No.
Because if any of you were smart enough, you would see that the old way of doing business and using the social media as a number doesn't work anymore.
Right.
Because it most certainly does not.
Right, and it's been proven out for many years
even
now.
Hogwarts Legacy, right? If you looked at the negative social media, right?
Right.
If you were going off of that as an executive, you'd say, we're fucked.
Right, exactly.
And it ended up making like $1 billion in the first week.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, you just can't use the numbers traditionally.
No.
You have to understand that there is a very vocal, because I don't think when you say the 1%, right, and that they're catering to the 1%, I don't think that's true. I think they're looking at the numbers and they think that that's the majority now.
Well, no, but
the numbers say it that it is.
Right. But that's the falsity of it all, because they are only a 1%, but the numbers make them appear to be the majority, and they cater to that.
And what ends up happening is we see what's come out in the last 3 to 5 years. And as a result, you have burned bridges that will never come back. You're never going to have the relationship with the FX community that you had, pre-Alonzo. You're never going to have the relationship with the Marvel fans that you had at the end of Endgame.
Yep.
Like, you've burned so many bridges at this
point. The Star
point.
Wars bridges burned.
Indiana
Jones, all of it.
Here's the thing. Lucas had Lucas was Star Wars, Indy, Willow. Those were really the properties that there might be a couple more, but those are the three.
Yeah, those are the main ones.
You've ruined all three of them.
Right. And Pixar is a dead entity as well. They've had 3 massive bombs in a row, so you've killed that as well. Like, when are you going to change the formula back to what it used to be?
It's not even back to what it used to be, because there is no back to what it used to be. Because what it used to be was they would look at the numbers and they could generate hits because, okay, this is what's trending on social right now. Because before social became the monster it is, you could use it.
Sure.
But that's not how it is anymore.
No. I mean, I'm not saying that you could use that as to gauge the audience. I'm saying you go back to the way you were making movies and the way that you were entertaining, and stop making everything political, stop worrying about a message, and just make fun movies.
You need to stop looking at the numbers. So Hasbro owns D&D. And the movie didn't make a ton of money.
Right.
But it is beloved. And they came out and they said, yeah, we know it didn't make a ton of cash. We're just happy it's good.
Right.
And when you say things like that, and then you look at the movie as part of the whole D&D universe, right? That will generate goodwill.
Right.
That will generate sales.
Yeah, and people will give it an opportunity.
Right.
People will go and watch it now, and they'll give an opportunity if you make a second one.
It's just you have to stop using these numbers as kind of your guidepost.
Right.
Right? Because it's not working.
No, it sure isn't.
All right, let's shift gears once more.
Yes.
What do you got for me?
So, the Magic the Gathering card game is coming out with the Lord of the Rings.
Now, you know they sent the Pinkertons after someone.
I do know this.
Okay.
Yeah. And in this card game, they've made Aragorn black.
Okay.
Now, people are up in arms.
Sure.
Because, again, Tolkien clearly defines
Every character in Lord of the
Right.
Rings. That's his writing style.
So, right, exactly. So people are up in arms that you've blackwashed this character,
Okay.
right? For this, just for this card game. This
Well,
is
I think
it.
they're doing
just
it
the
with
card game.
like Dumbledore's going to be black in the Harry Potter remake.
Yeah, I think possibly that as well.
It's fine. I mean,
So here's, and I want to look at this in a few different angles, right?
Okay.
But here's
Yeah.
the thing.
all right.
You're more of a video game. You don't really play like these tabletop type
Yeah,
games.
not a huge tail. I mean, I've played a little D&D,
Right.
but like
But
not a big card guy.
But would that, if they did that to a character that you liked in a game that you like, would that matter to you?
No.
No, right? But
And even less on a card because there's no personality there.
right, but by doing that, do you think it would draw an audience that wasn't there?
No.
No. So, I guess I wonder, why do you do this? Because even though it doesn't matter
Right.
in the grand scheme of things, you are upsetting people that love the lore.
Right.
And you're not going to, and people, you didn't have a tremendous amount of black kids who wanted to play this game and wasn't because Aragorn was white, and now that you've changed him black, they all of a sudden are going to start playing this game. That's not going to happen. So why
so
are you doing this?
It's a weird thing to do only because it's a card game. Like
Yeah,
if they were to do it in like the Rings of Power movie,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he was a good actor and he happened to be any color.
Right.
That's fine.
Sure.
Because you picked the best actor.
Right.
For a tabletop card game, it's strange.
Right.
It's a strange choice to do something
Mm-hmm.
like that. I'm not offended by it.
No.
You
No,
know,
and nor should anybody be offended.
I think it goes against the lore,
Right,
obviously.
and- but
I-
people-
I'm not offended.
No, but because people care about the lore so much,
Yeah.
there are people that feel offended, and they
Well, like, what
are
if they
getting
made-
mad about
like, what
it.
if they made like that Star Wars card game and they made like Anakin black? Would that offend you?
No.
No.
But then I thought of this.
Yeah.
When I was a kid,
Yeah.
right? Star Wars, that's my thing.
Yeah.
I would collect all the action figures.
For sure.
When Lando Calrissian came out, or the Black Bespin Guard, I'm all over it. I'm buying it. Lando, cool. I want that figure.
You want the Star Wars character.
If Luke came out and was black, I'd be like, I don't understand. He's not black. He's white. I don't know. Why are you changing this toy?
Right.
I don't get it. Like, I know he's not black. I'm not sure why are you doing this? I would look at that and I would not understand.
But even
what would your reasoning be?
I would even take it a step back. If you released a Star Wars card game and
Mm-hmm.
you made Luke not look like Mark Hamill, that would be weird to me.
Right. So
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Is like you have look, like it or not, Viggo Mortensen is Aragorn.
Right.
So people have Aragorn seared into their brain.
And they have it seared into their brain what Tolkien told you he specifically looked like.
You can take it deeper than that and say there's an actual description. But going just, on pop culture alone, right? If I said Aragorn, you immediately think of Viggo Mortensen.
Of course you do.
And when you go back and read the description after seeing The Lord of the Rings, it's Viggo Mortensen.
Right.
So that's what you have in your head. So anything you do that's not that, or at least close to that, is going to look weird.
Right. And so people that love the lore
Yeah.
and are very religious.
Did they say why? Did they give like a reason or no?
No, they wanted to
Just diversity.
add diversity.
Yeah.
For the purpose of diversity and nothing else. And the thing is, but you're not bringing in anybody new.
Right, but it's the same thing as what Disney does, right? Is that you act like a quote-unquote moral compass, but then you send the Pinkertons after a kid
Yeah.
because he got
He
cards.
got cards earlier than supposed to.
So it's like you can't scream that you're diverse and moral and everything and then do these awful, shitty things to people.
But the thing is, you're not, you're only pleasing groups. When you do this, you're only doing it so that you can get clout to groups who are going to praise you for doing it. But then when no one buys the product and it fails, what happens?
I don't think that Aragorn being black is going to, stop people from buying the game if they want to play it.
No, not necessarily. But I'm just saying, I don't know how well that would do. Period. As far as a Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings card game, I have no idea whether that would be a big seller or wouldn't be.
Right.
And I'm just saying that. Why are you're not doing it for any purpose other than to get kudos from other groups to say that you're diversifying the characters, but you're not doing, like, how many times have you heard black people say, I don't want this.
Well, so
I want my own thing.
I had an interesting talk with someone 2 weeks ago. And I brought up corporate America.
Yeah.
And I told him, like, I can't do corporate America because it's scary to me. In the fact that, by the way that people act.
Sure.
It reminds me of a horror movie because that's not who you are.
Right.
It is a dystopian horror flick. So when you're doing these things, right, they don't seem natural. They seem like this robotic, unnatural, uncanny valley choice that you've made. And it's corporate just bleeding into the creative space, which it usually stayed out of.
Right.
But now it's starting to bleed in, and it's disastrous because if any of you have worked for any big corporations, I know we both have.
Right.
Everything is so staged. There's not any normal human interactions that you can really have.
Nope.
In that setting.
None.
That to me seems insane.
It is. It is absolutely insane. But I just, it's just one of these things where it's not the fact that you made him black for this one card game. That shouldn't be bothersome to anybody. I know it will be, but it really, in the overall scheme of things, shouldn't be.
Just pieces of shit.
Right. But it's just that you have to have a better reason behind doing it other than just to say, I'm checking a box. Like, that is the reason they're giving for a lot of this stuff.
And that, to me...
And it's got to go deeper than that. There's got to be better reasonings behind it.
That, to me, is almost... Because it's so disingenuous, if I was one of those groups, I would be offended.
Sure. And some of them are.
I don't know. It's odd. So before we put this one to bed, I want to say one positive thing, because I know it's been a fucking slew of negativity this episode. I watched the Barbie trailer.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah. And not a lot of interest in Barbie.
Sure.
It looks very funny.
It might be.
There's a scene, right, where they're in Barbie's dream world and they're like dancing and shit.
Okay.
And she makes this comment and it goes, do any of you ever think about the fact that we're going to die? And like the music stops and everybody looks at her, like, because everything's supposed to be perfect and pristine. And then, reality starts to bleed in, right?
Okay.
It looks very funny.
I like Margot Robbie. I'm hoping
Ryan
that she
Gosling's good.
I just hope she has a hit because every movie she's in seems to flop.
Well, I mean, she's been in some good ones.
Besides The Wolf of Wall Street, she really hasn't been in anything that's been a massive success.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point.
With her as the main
the Harley
star.
Quinn movie didn't take off like they thought it was gonna.
No, and that once whatever it was.
Well, she wasn't the main star in that.
No,
I will say actually, that's one of my favorite Tarantino flicks. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah,
it just oozes Tarantino.
Yeah,
like if you like Tarantino.
Yeah, I just think that somebody like her,
she's very talented.
Right, should be able to get a good movie, and I'm hoping that this one is it.
It looks funny.
Good,
and that caught me off guard because I was like, I don't even know why I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I watched it out of curiosity because I was like, what the fuck story are you going to tell about Barbie?
Right, what story are you telling?
And then when I saw the route they were going with it, where there's almost like this dark comedy element to it, I was like, oh, this is genius.
Yeah, that might
turn out very, very funny.
I hope it does. I hope it does well.
Like her feet are like in the Barbie position, and then as reality bleeds in more, they become regular, and everybody's freaking out. Like that shit to me is very funny.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that, and then Scorsese's got one coming out in October, Killer of the Flower Moon or something like that, with DiCaprio and De Niro, and it's like about
it's a religious flick, I think, isn't it? Is it a religious flick?
It has religion in it, but I think it's about like Indians in the Old West, and not the old West, but like it looks good.
Yeah,
he's one of the few that have gotten better with, maybe not better, but have maintained a filmography, like, because I think Spielberg has gone downhill as he's gotten older. I even think Lucas was trending that way.
And I mean, we got Boogeyman coming out this week as well, so
I've heard good things.
I mean, but Stephen King movies lately have
well, I thought it was good,
but other than that, like most everything else after that or even slightly before that have not been all that successful.
Yeah, they tried to do The Stand. With Amber Heard. And it tanked.
Right. So I'm hoping that movie ends up being successful as well.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's for like a lot of jump scares and stuff.
Right.
That works with people.
For sure.
So there's a couple on the horizon that aren't Disney. I heard Spider-Verse, it's coming out this week. I heard that looks I want to see that because I really like the first one.
Yeah, that one will be entertaining.
And then they did show us the trailer for the new game.
Yeah,
with Craven, and he's got the black suit.
Yeah, he's got the black suit.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that looks nice.
So there's some good.
Yeah,
there's
sure. There is.
It's strange to me because it's like Disney is the biggest offender of all of this stuff, but they own so many properties.
But the biggest problem is they're unwilling to change.
Yeah.
They're unwilling to admit that it's not working.
They're unwilling to listen to feedback.
Right.
I get what you're trying to do, and I think for the most part, it's a good thing.
Sure.
But you're not listening to any of the feedback, and so what happens is you're just plopping out turd after turd after turd, and then getting mad at us because we don't want to eat the shit sandwiches that you're making.
Right. And you're getting the feedback of, hey, maybe do this but not this, and like, no, we're going to keep doing the formula.
Yeah, we're going.
And if you don't like it, right, we're going to keep going even more, and if you don't like it, get away from me, racist.
Well, what do we got? We got The Marvels is the next big one for Disney, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so with that, let's put this one to bed. What do you got for me?
Yeah, just continuing to put out the art. Just every week.
I saw 007.
007 this week, yeah. So check out the social media if you want to see new artwork every week. Take a trip by. Hopefully you'll like what you see.
All right, guys, so that's episode 56 of The Corner. You know where we're at. CatalystCrafting.com is the main website. Catalyst Creations NH is the Etsy store, the web store. Moving along, got the orders going, grooving. So we are trying to do that MK Collective. So if you check out our socials, you can see some cool Mortal Kombat coasters we've been making. But what do you guys think? Have you seen The Watcher or I See You? What are your thoughts on The Little Mermaid? and even more so just Disney's live action plan in general. Are you disappointed that Indy is getting mediocre responses? And how do you feel about Aragorn being black? Do you think it's blasphemy, or is it not a big deal? All right, crew. We'll catch you on the next one.